Greetings gamers, ex-gamers and friends and family of gamers. First of all, I'd like to apologise for missing an entire week of Big Fat Hairy Loser updates. My father-in-law was taken ill with no notice and we had to scramble to shove loads of clothes in bags and get straight on the train. So the first day of the first week started off pretty rough actually. Despite the psychological high from having lost weight, I cheated on my diet with an extra handful of salted peanuts and an extra portion of fruit. But then, when I went to bed, I couldn't sleep and wound up helping myself to a slice of bread with peanut butter. I knew it was wrong and against my choice, but I did it anyway. I suspect it must have something to do with not wanting to eat anything the day before, but it is so scary to see how we're nowhere near as in control of our decisions as we'd like to think we are. It's like my body just took over and did it anyway. So then, just when I thought I'd gotten my diet back on track, the phone rings and off we go on our train journey. So food-wise, we'd have a small amount of highly sugary breakfast cereal in the morning, which was eaten in a hurry, and then an exhausted takeaway in the evening after visiting hours were over. And that's how I spent the first half of the second week. The second half of the second week was spent sick as a pig, forcing myself to eat small mouthfuls of cereal so I could take my medication, and then feeling extremely nauseous, so I was even too frightened to eat. So 3 or 4 days of starvation will cause anyone's weight to drop, but this is not a healthy way to lose weight. I'm sure I've lost a lot of muscle mass as well as bone density. Now, at the time of making this video, I'm still quite sick, but I'm no longer off my food and I'm trying to get back onto a healthier diet with a proper balance of macronutrients. And this brings me to the subject of this week's video, where I look at the various micronutrients that our bodies need. The first micronutrient I want to look at is iron. Iron forms part of the hemoglobin molecule, which makes up the component in our red blood cells that transport oxygen around our body. Without enough iron, we become anemic, making us feel pale and run down, constantly tired. If we are to have enough energy to burn off those calories, we need to make sure our blood can supply our oxygen to our muscles. And for that we need iron in our diet. Iron, however, is not easily removed from our body, so we have to watch how much iron we take in. Too much iron and we can suffer from hemochromatosis. This build-up of iron can cause damage to our internal organs such as our pancreas, liver and heart, not to mention it can build up in our joints, causing joint pain. Ironically, one of the symptoms of hemochromatosis is feeling tired and run down all the time, which is exactly the same as the symptoms for anemia. So thus having too much iron or too little iron can both result in excessive tiredness. From a weight loss perspective, if we feel tired and run down all the time, our natural instinct is to reach for refined sugars and fats. Very often, when we're tired and run down, the culprit is either lack of quality sleep or dehydration. So the first two things to check is, am I getting enough sleep and am I drinking enough water? If the answer to both those questions is yes, then it's time to get yourself down to the doctor for a blood test. If the blood test reveals you're anemic, then it's time to get some more iron in your diet. The most common way people, especially in the West, get their iron is through red meat. However, there is a large trend these days towards vegetarian and vegan diets which exclude meat, and so here are some alternative sources of iron. Vitamin and mineral supplements, obviously. Fortified breakfast cereals tend to also have lots of iron in them. Soybeans are good for iron, kidney beans, lentils, also leafy green vegetables, especially cabbage and spinach. Now, back in the day, there was a famous children's TV series called Popeye and Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish 'cause I eats me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Boop boop. That actually came about as a result of a decimal point being in the wrong place, making people believe that spinach had 10 times as much iron in it as it really does. In reality, spinach only has about the same amount of iron as cabbage. If you're not a vegetarian and have no qualms over eating meat, then the highest concentrations of iron are generally found in the blood or in the liver of animals. So a nice bit of black pudding or liver and onions will supply you with plenty of iron. Consuming the iron, though, isn't enough. That iron has to be absorbed by the body. Now, for meat eaters, simply eating iron-rich meat will not only increase the absorption of iron in the meat, but will also increase the body's absorption of iron in vegetables that go with the meat. However, for vegetarians and vegans, it's important to get plenty of vitamin C from citrus fruits in order to allow the body to absorb the iron from the leafy green vegetables or fortified cereals. One final warning before I sign off. Tea and coffee reduce the body's ability to absorb iron from our food, so avoid drinking too much tea and coffee. And that's about all I have time for this Tuesday. Things are a bit up in the air at the moment with my family, so I can't guarantee when the next Big Fat Hairy Loser update will be, but I will do my best to get them out as close to every Tuesday as I can. But if you hit that subscribe button and the bell, you'll be notified when it's up. But as for me, Big Fat Hairy Gamer, I'll look forward to seeing you in a future video.